Have I not had two bishops at my feet, the Duke of Iker and Don Fernan Nunez? And is it thus a faithful wife you treat? I wonder in what quarter now the moon is. I praise your vast forbearance not to beat me also, since the time so opportune is. O valiant man with sword drawn and cocked trigger, now tell me, don't you cut a pretty figure? Was it for this you took your sudden journey, under pretense of business indispensable, with that sublime of rascals your attorney, whom I see standing there and looking sensible of having played the fool? Though both I spurn, he deserves the worst, his conduct's less defensible, because no doubt 'twas for his dirty feet, and not from any love to you nor me. If he comes here to take a deposition, by all means let the gentleman proceed. You've made the apartment in a fit condition. There's pen and ink for you, sir, when you need. Let everything be noted with precision. I would not you for nothing should be feed. But as my maid's undressed, pray turn your spies out. Oh, sobbed Antonia, I could tear their eyes out. There is the closet, there the toilet, there the antechamber. Search them under, over. There is the sofa, there the great armchair, the chimney, which would really hold a lover. I wish to sleep, and beg you will take care, and make no further noise till you discover the secret cavern of this lurking treasure. And when 'tis found, let me, too, have the pleasure. And now, Hidalgo, now that you have thrown doubt upon me, confusion over all, pray have the courtesy to make it known who is the man you search for. How do you call him? What's his lineage? Let him but be shown. I hope he's young and handsome. Is he tall? Tell me, and be assured that since you stain my honor thus, it shall not be in vain. At least perhaps he has not 60 years. At that age he would be too old for slaughter, or for so young a husband's jealous fears. Antonia, let me have a glass of water. I am ashamed of having shed these tears. They are unworthy of my father's daughter. My mother dreamed not in my natural hour. My mother dreamed not in my natal hour that I should fall into a monstrous power. Perhaps 'tis of Antonia you are jealous. You saw that she was sleeping by my side when you broke in upon us with your fellows. Look where you please, we've nothing, sir, to hide. Only another time I trust you'll tell us, or for the sake of decency abide a moment at the door, that we may be dressed to receive so much good company. And now, sir, I have done, and say no more. The little I have said may serve to show the guileless heart in silence may grieve o'er the wrongs to whose exposure it is slow. I leave you to your conscience as before. 'Twill one day ask you why you used me so. God grant you feel not then the bitterest grief. Antonia, where's my pocket handkerchief? She ceased and turned upon her pillow pale. She lay, her dark eyes flashing through her tears, like skies that rain and lighten as a veil. Waved and o'ershading her wan cheek appears. Her streaming hair, the black curls strive but fail to hide the glossy shoulder which uprears its snow through all. Her soft lips lie apart, and louder than her breathing beats her heart. The Signor Don Alfonso stood confused. Antonia bustled round the ransacked room, and turning up her nose with looks abused her master and his myrmidons, of whom not one except the attorney was amused. He, like Achates, faithful to the tomb. So there were quarrels, cared not for the cause, knowing they must be settled by the laws. With prying snub nose and small eyes he stood, following Antonia's motions here and there, with much suspicion in his attitude. For reputations he had little care, so that a suit or action were made good. Small pity had he for the young and fair, and he ne'er believed in negatives till these were proved by competent false witnesses. But Don Alfonso stood with downcast looks, and truth to say he made a foolish figure, when after searching in 500 nooks, and treating a young wife with so much rigor, he gained no point except some self-rebukes, added to those his lady with such vigor had poured upon him for the last half hour, quick, thick, and heavy as a thunder shower. At first he tried to hammer an excuse, to which the sole reply was tears and sobs and indications of hysterics, whose prologue is always certain throes and throbs, gasps, and whatever else the owners choose. Alfonso saw his wife and thought of Job's. He saw, too, in perspective her relations, and then he tried to muster all his patience. He stood in act to speak, or rather stammer, but sage Antonio cut him short before the anvil of his speech received the hammer. With "Pray, sir, leave the room and say no more, or madam dies," Alfonso muttered. "Damn her, but nothing else." The time of words was o'er. He cast a rueful look or two, and did, he knew not wherefore, that which he was bid. With him retired his posse comitatus, the attorney last, who lingered near the door, reluctantly still tarrying there as late as Antonio led him, not a little sore, at this most strange and unexplained hiatus in Don Alfonso's facts, which just now wore an awkward look as he revolved the case. The door was fastened in his legal face. No sooner was it bolted than, oh shame, oh sin, oh sorrow, and oh womankind, how can you do such things and keep your fame, unless this world and to other two be blind? Nothing so dear as an unfilched good name. But to proceed, for there is more behind. With much heartfelt reluctance be it said, young Juan slipped half smothered from the bed. He had been hid, I don't pretend to say how, nor can I indeed describe the where. Young, slender, and packed easily he lay, no doubt, in little compass, round or square. But pity him I neither must nor may, his suffocation by that pretty pair. 'Twere better, sure, to die so than be shut with maudlin Clarence in his malmsy butt. And secondly, I pity not because he had no business to commit a sin, forbid by heavenly, fined by human laws. At least 'twas rather early to begin. But at 16 the conscience rarely gnaws so much as when we call our old debts in, at 60 years, and draw the accounts of evil, and find a deuced balance with the devil. Of his position I can give no notion. 'Tis written in the Hebrew Chronicle how the physicians, leaving pill and potion, prescribed by way of blister a young bell, when old King David's blood grew dull in motion, and that the medicine answered very well. Perhaps was in a different way applied, for David lived, but Juan nearly died. What's to be done? Alfonso will be back. The moment he has sent his fools away, Antonia's skill was put upon the rack, but no device could be brought into play, and how to parry the renewed attack. Besides, it wanted but few hours of day. Antonia puzzled, Julia did not speak, but pressed her bloodless lip to Juan's cheek. He turned his lips to hers, and with his hand called back the tangles of her wandering hair. Even then their love they could not all command, and half forgot their danger and despair. Antonia's patience now was at a stand. Come, come, 'tis no time now for fooling there. She whispered in great wrath, I must deposit this pretty gentleman within the closet. Pray keep your nonsense for some luckier night. Who can have put my master in this mood? What will become on't? I'm in such a fright. The devil's in the urchin and no good. Is this a time for giggling, this a plight? Why don't you know that it may end in blood? You'll lose your life and I shall lose my place, my mistress, all for that half-girlish face. Had it but been for a stout cavalier of 25 or 30, come, make haste. But for a child, what piece of work is here? I really, madam, wonder at your taste. Come, sir, get in, my master must be near. There, for the present, at the least, he's fast. And if we can but till the morning keep our counsel, Juan, mind you must not sleep. Now Don Alfonso, entering but alone, closed the oration of the trusty maid. She loitered, and he told her to be gone, and order somewhat sullenly obeyed. However, present remedy was none, and no great good seemed answered if she stayed. Regarding both with slow and sidelong view, she snuffed the candle, curtsied, and withdrew. Alfonso paused a minute, then begun some strange excuses for his late proceeding. He would not justify what he had done, to say the best it was extreme ill-breeding. But there were ample reasons for it, none of which he specified, and this his pleading. His speech was a fine sample on the whole of rhetoric, which the learned call rigmarole. Julia said not, though all the while there rose a ready answer which at once enables a matron who her husband's foible knows, by a few timely words to turn the tables, which if it does not silence, still must pose, even if it should comprise a pack of fables. 'Tis to retort with firmness, and when he suspects with one, do you reproach with three? Julia, in fact, had tolerable grounds. Alfonso loves with Inez were well known, but whether 'twas that one's own guilt confounds. But that can't be, as has been often shown. A lady with apologies abounds. It might be that her silence sprang alone from delicacy to Don Juan's ear, to whom she knew his mother's fame was dear. There might be one more motive which makes two. Alfonso ne'er to Juan had alluded, mentioned his jealousy, but never who had been the happy lover, he concluded. Concealed amongst his premises, 'tis true, is mine the more, or this its mystery brooded. To speak of Inez now, where one may say, like throwing Juan in Alfonso's way. A hint in tender cases is enough, silence is best, besides there is a tact. That modern phrase appears to me sad stuff, but it will serve to keep my verse compact, which keeps, when pushed by questions rather rough, the lady always distant from the fact. The charming creatures lie with such a grace. There's nothing so becoming to the face. They blush, and we believe them. At least I have always done so. 'Tis of no great use in any case attempting a reply, for then their eloquence grows quite profuse, and when at length they're out of breath, they sigh, and cast their languid eyes down, and let loose a tear or two, and then we make it up. And then, sit down and sup. Alfonso closed his speech and begged her pardon, which Julia half withheld and then half granted, and laid conditions he thought were very hard on, denying several little things he wanted. He stood like Adam lingering near his garden, with useless penitence perplexed and haunted, beseeching she no further would refuse, when lo, he stumbled o'er a pair of shoes. A pair of shoes? What then? Not much, if they are such as fit with ladies' fit. Let me run at that again. A pair of shoes, what then? Not much, if they are such as fit with ladies' feet, but these, no one can tell how much I grieve to say, were masculine. To see them and to seize was but a moment's act. Ah, well a day, my teeth begin to chatter, my veins freeze. Alfonso first examined well their fashion, and then flew out into another fact. Yeah. A pair of shoes, what then? Not much, if they are such as fit with ladies' feet, but these, no one can tell how much I grieve to say, were masculine. To see them and to seize was but a moment's act. Ah, well a day, my teeth begin to chatter, my veins freeze. Alfonso first examined well their fashion, and then flew out into another passion. He left the room for his relinquished sword, and Julia instant to the closet flew. Fly, Juan, fly, for heaven's sake, not a word. The door is open, you may yet slip through. The passage you so often have explored. Here is the garden key. Fly, fly, adieu. Haste, haste, I hear Alfonso's hurrying feet. Day is not broke. There's no one in the street. None can say that this was not good advice. The only mischief was it came too late. Of all experience, 'tis the usual price, a sort of income tax laid on by fate. Juan had reached the room door in a trice, and might have done so by the garden gate, but met Alfonso in his dressing gown, who threatened death, so Juan knocked him down. Dire was the scuffle, and out went the light. Antonia cried out, "Rape!" and Julia, "Fire!" But not a servant stirred to aid the fight. Alfonso pommeled to his heart's desire, swore lustily he'd be revenged this night, and Juan too blasphemed an octave higher. His blood was up, though young he was a Tartar, and not at all disposed to prove a martyr. Alfonso's sword had dropped ere he could draw it, and they continued battling hand to hand, for Juan very luckily never saw it, his temper not being under great command. If at that moment he had chanced to claw it, Alfonso's days had not been in the land much longer. Think of husbands, lovers' lives, and how ye may doubly widows' wives. I fucked that up too. Alfonso's sword had dropped ere he could draw it, and they continued battling hand to hand, for Juan very luckily never saw it, his temper not being under great command. If at that moment he had chanced to claw it, Alfonso's days had not been in the land much longer. Think of husbands, lovers' lives, and how ye may be doubly widows' wives. Alfonso grappled to detain the foe, and Juan throttled him to get away, and blood, 'twas from the nose, began to flow. At last, as they more faintly wrestling lay, Juan contrived to give an awkward blow, and then his only garment quite gave way. He fled like Joseph, leaving it, but there, I doubt, all likeness ends between the pair. Lights came at length, and men and maids who found an awkward spectacle their eyes before. Antonia in hysterics, Julia swooned, Alfonso leaning breathless by the door. Some half-torn drapery scattered on the ground, some blood and several footsteps, but no more. Juan, the gate gained, turned the key about, and liking not the inside, locked the out. Here ends this canto. Need I sing or say how Juan, naked, favored by the night, who favors what she should not, found his way, and reached his home in an unseemly plight? The pleasant scandal which arose next day, the 9 days' wonder which was brought to light, and how Alfonso sued for a divorce were in the English newspapers, of course. If you would like to see the whole proceedings, the depositions and the cause at full, the names of all the witnesses, the pleadings of counsel to non-suit or to annul, there's more than one edition and the readings are various, but they none of them are dull. The best is that in shorthand, taken by Gurney, who to Madrid on purpose made a journey. But Donna Inez, to divert the train of one of the most circulating scandals that had for centuries been known in Spain, at least since the retirement of the Vandals, first vowed, and never had she vowed in vain, to Virgin Mary several pounds of candles, and then by the advice of some old ladies, she sent her son to be shipped off from Cadiz. She had resolved that he should travel through all European climes by land or sea, to mend his former morals and get new, especially in France and Italy. At least this is the thing most people do. Julia was sent into a convent. She grieved, but perhaps her feelings may be better shown in the following copy of her letter. Quote, "They tell me 'tis decided you depart. 'Tis wise, 'tis well, but not the less a pain. I have no further claim on your young heart. Mine is the victim and would be again. To love too much has been the only art I used. I write in haste, and if a stain be on the sheet, 'tis not what it appears. My eyeballs burn and throb, but have no tears. I love you, for this love have lost state, station, heaven, mankind's, my own esteem, and yet cannot regret what it hath cost. So dear is still the memory of that dream. Yet if I name my guilt, 'tis not to boast, none can deem harshlier of me than I can deem. I trace this scrawl because I cannot rest. I have nothing to reproach or to request. Man's love is of man's life a thing apart. 'Tis woman's whole existence. Man may range the court, camp, church, the vessel, and the mart. Sword, gown, gain glory, offer in exchange, pride, fame, ambition to fill up his heart. And few there are whom these cannot estrange. Men have all these resources, but we but one, to love again and be again undone. You will proceed in pleasure and in pride, beloved and loving many. All is o'er for me on earth, except some years to hide my shame and sorrow deep in my heart's core. These I could bear, but cannot cast aside the passion which still rages as before. And so farewell, forgive me, love me, no, that word is idle now, but let it go. My breast has been all weakness, is so yet, but still I think I can collect my mind. My blood still rushes where my spirit's set, as roll the waves before the settled wind. My heart is feminine, nor can forget to all except one image, madly blind. So shakes the needle and so stands the pole. as vibrates my fine. So shakes the needle, and so stands the pole, as vibrates my fond heart to my fixed soul. I have no more to say, but linger still, and dare not set my seal upon this sheet. And yet I may as well the task fulfill, my misery can scarce be more complete. I had not lived till now, could sorrow kill. Death shuns the wretch who fain the blow would meet, and I must even survive this last adieu, and bear with life to love and pray for you. This note was written upon gilt-edged paper with a neat little crow quill. This note was written upon gilt-edged paper with a neat little crow quill, slight and new. Her small white hand could hardly reach the taper. It trembled as magnetic needles do. And yet she did not let one tear escape her. The seal, a sunflower. Elle vous sweet partout. The motto cut upon a white cornelian. The wax was superfine, its hue vermilion. I'm going to read that again. I liked it. This note was written upon gilt-edged paper with a neat little crow quill, slight and new. Her small white hand could hardly reach the taper. It trembled as magnetic needles do. And yet she did not let one tear escape her. The seal, a sunflower. Elle vous sweet partout. The motto cut upon a white cornelian. The wax was superfine, its hue vermilion. Let me hit that once again. I really enjoyed that little one. This note was written upon gilt-edged paper with a neat little crow quill, slight and new. Her small white hand could hardly reach the taper. It trembled as magnetic needles do. And yet she did not let one tear escape her. The seal, a sunflower. Elle vous sweet partout. The motto cut upon a white cornelian. The wax was superfine, its hue vermilion. This was Don Juan's earliest scrape, but whether I shall proceed with his adventures is dependent on the public altogether. We'll see, however, what they say to this. Their favor in an author's cap's a feather, and no great mischiefs done by their caprice. And if their approbation we experience, perhaps they'll have some more about a year hence. My poem's epic, and is meant to be, divided in 12 books, each book containing, with love and war, a heavy gale at sea, a list of ships and captains and kings reigning, new characters, the episodes are 3, a panoramic view of hells in training, after the style of Virgil and of Homer, so that my name of epic's no misnomer. All these things will be specified in time, with strict regard to Aristotle's rules, the Veda mecum of the true sublime, which makes so many poets and some fools. Prose poets like blank verse, I'm fond of rhyme. Good workmen never quarrel with their tools. I've got new mythological machinery and very handsome supernatural scenery. I'm going to reread that one. All these things will be specified in time with strict regard to Aristotle's rules, the vade mecum of the true sublime, which makes so many poets and some fools. Prose poets like blank verse, I'm fond of rhyme. Good workmen never quarrel with their tools. I've got new mythological machinery and very handsome supernatural scenery. There's only one slight difference between me and my epic brethren gone before, and here the advantage is my own, I ween, not that I have not several merits more. But this will more peculiarly be seen. They so embellish that 'tis quite a bore, their labyrinth of fables to thread through, whereas this story's actually true. If any person doubted, I appeal to history, tradition, and to facts, to newspapers whose truth all know and feel, to plays in 5 and operas in 3 acts. All these confirm my statement a good deal, but that which more completely faith exacts is that myself and several now in Sevilla saw Juan's last elopement with the devil. If ever I should condescend to prose, I'll write poetical commandments which shall supersede beyond all doubt all those that went before, and these I shall enrich my text with many things that no one knows, and carry precept to the highest pitch. I'll call the work Longinus over a bottle, or every poet his own Aristotle. Thou shalt believe in Milton, Dryden, Pope. Thou shalt not set up Wordsworth, Coleridge, Southey, because the first is crazed beyond all hope, the second drunk, the third so quaint and mouthy. With Crabbe it may be difficult to cope, and Campbell's Hippocrene is somewhat drouthy. Thou shalt not steal from Samuel Rogers, nor commit flirtation with the muse of Moore. Thou shalt not covet Mr. Southby's muse, his Pegasus, nor anything that's his. Thou shalt not bear false witness like the Blues. There's one at least is very fond of this. Thou shalt not write, in short, but what I choose. This is true criticism, and you may kiss exactly as you please, or not the rod. But if you don't, I'll lay it on God. No, I fucked it up. Thou shalt not covet Mr. Southby's muse, his Pegasus, nor anything that's his. Thou shalt not bear false witness like the Blues. There's one at least is very fond of this. Thou shalt not write, in short, but what I choose. This is true criticism, and you may kiss exactly as you please, or not the rod. But if you don't, I'll lay it on by God. If any person should presume to assert the story is not moral, first I pray that they will not cry out before they're hurt, then that they'll read it o'er again and say, but doubtless nobody will be so pert, that this is not a moral tale, though gay. Besides, in Canto 12th, I mean to show the very place where wicked people go. If, after all, there should be some so blind to their own good this warning to despise, led by some tortuosity of mind, not to believe my verse in their own eyes, and cry that they, quote, the moral cannot find, end of quote. I tell him if a clergyman, he lies. Should captains the remark or critics make, they also lie too, under a mistake. The public approbation I expect, and beg they'll take my word about the moral, which I with their amusement will connect, so children cutting teeth receive a coral. Meantime, they'll doubtless please to recollect my epical pretensions to the laurel, for fear some prudish reader should grow skittish. I've bribed my grandmother's review, the British. I sent it in a letter to the editor, who thanked me duly by return of post. I'm for a handsome article his creditor. Yet if my gentle muse he pleased to roast, and break a promise after having made it her, denying the receipt of what it cost, and smear his page with gall instead of honey, all I can say is that he had the money. I think that with this wholly new alliance I may ensure the public and defy all other magazines of art or science, daily or monthly or 3-monthly. I have not essayed to multiply their clients because they tell me we're in vain to try, and that the Edinburgh Review and Quarterly treat a dissenting author very martyrly. Non ego hoc ferrum calida juventa, consul planco, Horace said, and so say I, by which quotation there is meant a hint that some 6 or 7 good years ago, long ere I dreamt of dating from the Brenta, I was most ready to return a blow, and would not brook at all this sort of thing in my hot youth when George the Third was king. But now at 30 years, my hair is gray. I wonder what it will be like at 40. I thought of a peruke the other day. My heart is not much greener, and in short, I have squandered my whole summer while 'twas May, and feel no more the spirit to retort. I have spent my life both interest and principle, and deem not what I deemed my soul invincible. No more, no more. Oh, never more on me the freshness of the heart can fall like dew, which out of all the lovely things we see extracts emotions beautiful and new, hived in our bosoms like the bag of the bee. Think'st thou the honey with those objects grew? Alas, 'twas not in them, but in thy power, to double even the sweetness of a flower. No more, no more, oh nevermore, my heart, canst thou be my sole world, my universe, once all in all, but now a thing apart. Thou canst not be my blessing or my curse, the illusion's gone forever, and thou art insensible, I trust, but none the worse. And in thy stead I've got a deal of judgment, though heaven knows how it ever found a lodgment. My days of love are over, me no more. The charms of maid, wife, and still less of widow, can make the fool of which they made before. In short, I must not lead the life I did do. The credulous hope of mutual minds is o'er. The copious use of claret is forbid too. So for a good old gentlemanly vice, I think I must take up with avarice. Ambition was my idol, which was broken before the shrines of sorrow and of pleasure, and the two last have left me many a token, o'er which reflection may be made at leisure. Now, like Friar Bacon's brazen head I've spoken, time is, time was, time's past, a chymic treasure is glittering youth, which I've spent betimes, my heart in passion and my head on rhymes. What is the end of fame? 'Tis but to fill a certain portion of uncertain paper. Some liken it to climbing up a hill, whose summit, like all hills, is lost in vapor. For this men write, speak, preach, and heroes kill, and bards burn what they call their, quote, midnight taper, end of quote. To have, when the original is dust, a name, a wretched picture, and worse bust. What are the hopes of man? Old Egypt's king Cheops erected the first pyramid, and largest, thinking it was just the thing to keep his memory whole and mummy hid. But somebody or other rummaging, burglarously broke his coffin's lid. Let not a monument give you or me hopes, since not a pinch of dust remains of Cheops. But I, being fond of true philosophy, say very often to myself, alas! All things that have been born were born to die in flesh, which death mows down to hay. Let me run at it again. But I, being fond of true philosophy, say very often to myself, alas! All things that have been born were born to die in flesh, which death mows down to hay, is grass. You've passed your youth not so unpleasantly, and if you had it o'er again, 'twould pass. So thank your stars that matter no worse. Fuck, I fucked it up again. Fuck. Bitch. But I, being fond of true philosophy, say very often to myself, alas! All things that have been born were born to die, and flesh, which death mows down to hay, is grass. You've passed your youth not so unpleasantly, and if you had it o'er again, 'twould pass. So thank your stars that matters are no worse, and read your Bible, sir, and mind your purse. But for the present, gentle reader and still gentler purchaser, the bard, that's I, must, with permission, shake you by the hand. And so, your humble servant and goodbye. We meet again, if we should understand each other, and if not, I shall not try your patience further than by this short sample. 'Twere well if others followed my example. Go, little book, from this my solitude. I cast thee on the waters, go thy ways. And if, as I believe, thy vein be good, the world will find thee after many days, when Southey's read and Wordsworth understood. I can't help putting in my claim to praise. The 4 first rhymes are Southey's every line. For God's sake, reader, take them not for mine.